I hope everyone here today takes something out home. Thank you. So Dilip, you can go ahead.
Evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. So I think this is the first lecture of mine on pico lasers. I'm a great fan of nano lasers. I've been using Q-switched for a long, long time. And when Mr. Dilip asked me to talk about pico, I said, I don't know about pico. So he said, no, you can talk about physics. And I started reading about it and it got me very excited. And it is something which is not very commonly used in India, but it must be used henceforth. So I'll be talking on basic physics of laser. It's a purely physics about lasers. I'll not be sharing any clinical data of mine. The concept of selective photothermolysis using a specific wavelength, specific pulse duration, and a selected chromophore changed dermatologic practice. And we have so many lasers now, which is entirely based on the principle of selective photothermolysis. Q-switched Nd:YAG is the current gold standard for treating pigmented lesions and tattoo, at least in our part of country. And whatever the conferences we are attending, whatever the literature we are reviewing, or whatever the post we are reading, picocycle lasers with a pulse duration of 10 raised to minus 12 are fast replacing Q-switch lasers because of its safety, efficacy. What is the need of a new laser for a pigmented lesion? When you have a Q-switch laser which works in nanosecond range, the pulse duration here is 10 raised to minus 9. And most of these lasers now have a pulse duration between 5 nanoseconds to 20 nanoseconds. Q-switch lasers, we know they work on selective destruction of pigment by the photothermolysis. This selective photothermolysis, the sudden shorter pulse duration of Q-switch laser generates a shock wave inside the cells, and they have a little photomechanical effect in addition to the photothermolysis, the photothermal effect. Since the Q-switch laser works predominantly with thermal effect, we have to protect the epidermis in our type of skin, which otherwise we will land in complications such as hypo or hyperpigmentation. And since because of this, we have to be careful in choosing lower fluences. And since we choose a lower fluences, which results in prolonged treatments, frequent visit to the clinic, many a times incomplete clearance of the lesions. We say that it is 80% clears and 90% clears, and patients want 100% clearance of the lesions, or otherwise if we are aggressive, we may land in complications. So if you see, the basic principle difference between the pico and nano is not much in understanding the physics. So you have a laser light which is absorbed by the target melanosome depending on the selective photothermolysis, whether it's a melanosome or tattoos which we are treating. There's a sudden increase in the temperature which results in intracytoplasmic vacuole formation, which generates a shock wave, and there is a fragmentation of the target. The basic difference is here. The Q-switch laser, we know, works on the principle of thermal relaxation time. The time requires for an object to cool down to its 50% of the initial temperature achieved. In other words, it means that time that laser energy is limited to the target without spreading to the surrounding tissue and thus preventing the damage to the surrounding tissues. We know the diameter of melanosome is 1 micrometer and the TRT is 50 to 500 nanoseconds. And average size of tattoo is 40 to 100 nanometer with the TRT is 1 nanoseconds. And unfortunately, we do not have a laser of pulse Q-switch laser with a pulse width of 1 nanosecond. And if you see, if you can still further reduce the pulse duration, we can achieve this TRT in a better way, and the effect will be more. To overcome that, PICO's worked with which is a newer concept of stress relaxation time, and it is a time. The stress relaxation time of the medium characterizes the time needed for a trace to propagate across the characteristic dimension of the heated area. In a simple word, the sudden rise in temperature causes a rapid large shock waves. We know that Q switch also causes a shock wave, but the picoseconds causes a rapid large shock waves generating sufficient trace which is locked in the particle. So it will not allow this trace wave to propagate into the surrounding structure, resulting in fractures and disintegration of the particle. In shorter words, instead of being a photothermal effect, it is more of a photomechanical effect. And in both the lasers, the shorter the pulse duration of the laser, better and specific destruction of the chromocore. So we want a pico laser with a shortest possible pulse duration. And currently the most like pico wave has a shortest possible pulse duration available of almost all the laser. It is around 415 picoseconds. So as we know, all laser tissue interaction includes a photomechanical effect. However, it is possible to generate a primary photomechanical effect without much of photothermal effect, which is surface spallation effect, to destroy the target. This can be achieved by irradiation with the picosecond pulse duration to generate a tensile strength which exceeds the tissue's ultimate tensile stress, followed by a tissue fracture and fragmentation. This mechanism is extremely efficient, requiring much less energy to fracture a material via spallation than energy required to vaporize it. And that's why picoseconds lasers are very safe. Ideally, a pico laser should have less than 50 picosecond as a pulse duration to achieve the pure photomechanical effect, bypassing the photothermal effect. In practice, however, it is not possible right now because the plasma which I'm going to explain inside afterwards is generated outside the skin, and it can cause insufficient penetration or burn to the skin. They conducted a study where they studied the graphite, how tattoo reacts to pico lasers. The melting point of graphite is around 4000 degrees centigrade. In a simulation study, when a graphite particle was irradiated with 35 picosecond pulse, a temperature rose to 900 degrees. Now 900 degrees are much lesser than 4 times lesser than 4000 degrees. So the destruction of tattoo was not basically because of photothermal effect. However, it resulted in a cavitation bubble around the tattoo particle in the tissue without significant thermal expansion of the tattoo. So the tattoos are not thermally expanded. This rapid temperature spike in the particle resulted in a strong pressure wave, as I was discussing earlier, which is more than the tensile strength of the tattoo particle. And because of that, the tattoos get fragmented, or the graphite gets fragmented. More important, it also altered the optical properties of tattoo, which is not an effect of nanosecond laser. It altered which resulted in the immediate reduced visibility of these tattoo, and that is why you get a faster clearance with tattoo combined with small fragments and reduced visibility of the tattoos. So to compare with nanosecond laser, now if you see, this is a typical graph shown in Q switch lasers. And we know that with a 20 nanosecond, any machine can go up to say 100 milligram, and reducing it to just 10 nanosecond gets around 150, and 5 nanoseconds get 200 megawatt. As compared to that, when you reduce the pulse width to picosecond laser, you get a peak power of the laser in gigawatts range, not in megawatt range. And if you comparatively see the difference between a peak power achieved by nanosecond laser, this is a 5 nanosecond laser, as against picosecond laser, the peak power is very, very high. And that's why these are very powerful but safe systems. And this is the classical histology of a pico compared with nano, and you can see the basic difference. This is with 532 nanometer 5.3, and again with 532 nanometer 5.3 in a nanosecond pulse rate. With pico, with increasing fluence, there is a signet ring-shaped keratinocytes. If you see the keratinocytes, there is an intracytoplasmic vacuole, and the nucleus is pushed towards periphery, which is known as signet ring keratinocyte, with extensive increased vacuolization in the epidermis, because we know 532 acts predominantly on epidermis. The epidermal myelin is obviously reduced, and there are numerous round zones of laser-induced tissue injury were found in the collagen bundle, and depth of the injury correlating with the fluence. So more the fluence, more the depth is achieved. The tissue reaction with nanosecond lasers, we have some perinuclear vacuolar changes and decreased melanin pigmentation, but without remarkable vacuolar tissue reaction in the dermis. And I'll come to this vacuolar tissue reaction later. Same thing is with 1064 nanometer. There is a signet ring keratinocyte with indentation of the nuclei, vacuolization of the basement membrane zone, large vacuoles in the epidermis and dermis. The melanin is completely fragmented and there is a dilatation of dermal vasculature. These reactions are very, very less marked when you use a nanosecond laser. So how does these vacuoles are formed actually? How does these vacuoles are formed and what is their importance? In pico lasers, the laser induced tissue breakdowns. Vacuoles means you are breaking the tissue in the skin, not from the skin, on the skin. It is, you are just breaking it in the dermis and a part of epidermis without affecting the stratum corneum. This laser-induced tissue breakdown is initiated by the production of free electrons during a picosecond pulse. The free electron density increases during the laser forms to form a plasma. Plasma is basically a fourth matter of a universe. Like we know that it's basically an ionized gas with free electron. By repetitive free electron generation, this plasma is optically thick, virtually colorblind, and that's very important, and very efficient at absorbing energy in remaining portion of the laser pulse. So the effect is additive, like unlike CO2 where charred tissue prevents further absorption. The threshold energy required to generate a seed of electron via multiphoton absorption without a chromophore is very high, a level that is far too high for the safely induced human skin. But we have a chromophore where melanin and hemoglobin will act as a chromophore, and the addition of absorptive chromophore generates thermal effect that exponentially lowers this threshold. So they can safely be used in human skin because of chromophores. The plasma energy is then transferred to the tissue via electron molecular collisions, and the plasma ceases after the laser pulse. So it quenches after the laser pulse. The energy transferred from the plasma to the tissue generates an increase in tissue and water temperature very quickly in picoseconds, enough to create large cavitation bubbles with large pressure gradients, and that generates the vacuole. That destroys that part of the skin, creating large vacuoles. So you required 1/3 to 1/2 of the energy used in nanosecond laser. That makes them extremely safe. Nanosecond lasers break the Locke lesion to the pebble size, and whereas picosecond laser break them into the sand size. And we know that when treating a pigmented lesion, macrophages take away this broken pigment. The smaller you break it, the quicker macrophages can engulf it and remove it. So it can be used very safely and very effectively in treated pigmented lesion. All types of color actually can be treated if you can achieve a pure mechanical effect than a photothermal effect. In practice, we see that although this is true, but it is still difficult to remove the green and the yellow with picosecond 1064 laser, but still they are effective, much effective than nanosecond lasers. It is also effective in green, blue, and yellow. When the nanosecond laser is irradiated, there is a risk that temperature is unevenly distributed as shown in this figure. However, when in case of pico laser, the edges are neatly cut as shown in the figure, if you see. And if you can use a femtosecond laser, it will be still very sharp, but unfortunately we do not have them clinically available yet. So what is the advantages of picosecond laser? What we heard about till now, they are very effective and safe in all skin types. They treat multicolored tattoos. They can treat epidermal and dermal lesions. So whatever the indications of Q-switch, they will be treated safely, effectively in less number of sessions. With all these advantages, pico should be a laser of choice, but we have a limited number of indication, and pico lasers are expensive. We know that. However, there is in previous site we have seen intracytoplasmic vacuole formation, intraepidermal or intradermal vacuole formation. And this property of pico laser can be used to treat acne scars, traumatic scar, wrinkles, which forms the bulk of our practice. Like in India, if you see acne scars, traumatic scars, and pigmentation forms 60% of our practice, including the acne. Pico lasers, we know that can cause vacuolization of the epidermis and dermis. If we can fractionate the pico laser beam, we can concentrate the energy at one spot, create a controlled injury by producing laser-induced optical breakdowns, which is LIOB. And this is a new type of fractional injury which can be created with pico lasers by using a multi-lens array or a diffractive lens array. Multi-lens array. So I'll come to that. What is multi-lens array? Laser-induced optical breakdown, thus triggering plasma reaction and generation of growth factors, cytokines, and chemokines. This is achieved by a diffractive lens array or a micro lens array to produce a focal increase in the fluence while maintaining the overall reduction in the treatment energy density. So it is going to be safe but aggressive. Fractionation allows higher peak energies to be concentrated within the laser microbeam while sparing the adjacent tissue, that we know. So how does laser-induced optical breakdown occurs? Ultrapulse duration and a fractional microlens array, which induces laser-induced optical breakdowns within the epidermis and dermis. There is a generation of plasma, which creates intracytoplasmic vacuole, intraepidermal and dermal vacuoles. No tissue damage beyond these vacuoles. These vacuoles are immediately filled with melanotic and cellular debris. They are transeliminated. Wound healing process is started with release of cytokine, collagen, and mucin, and you get new collagenoses and new elastic fibrin. But the epithelial, the outer stratum corneum and basal layers are basal membrane is preserved. So less pain, less thermal effect, less complication, and faster healing. So less downtime. That's an advantage of LIOBs. So basically LIOBs is a new type of fractional injury without damaging the stratum corneum, the skin barrier. So we know that for scars, you have a fractional ablative laser or a fractional non-ablative laser. And we also know that fractional ablative laser works best, but they have a risk of complication. Here we have advantages of both. We have a preservation of stratum corneum, which is very important to avoid complications, but we have an ablative injury in the skin, in the epidermis and dermis. So we have a safety and efficacy. Microneedling RF, in my experience, works in the same way, but that comes with a disposable cost. You have to have a disposable cost, and it will have hardly any effect on epidermal regeneration, on pigmentation. Pico have both. It will have a epidermal regeneration, reduction in pigment, and improvement in scar. So this is a short diagram: high power density, multiphoton ionization, plasma formation, which is expanded, creates a shock wave, creates intracytoplasmic vacuoles, tissue is damaged, and wound healing process is initiated. And that's how LIOBs, the laser-induced optical breakdowns, act, and preventing stratum corneum and basal membrane. So this, I was talking about these diffractive lens arrays and micro lens arrays. The point here is micro lens arrays are good because due to refractive properties of the lens attached by the MLA, energy is concentrated in each dot. Pico Wave has MLA as an optic. However, few lasers are DOE. They are good, but MLA is a recent advanced technology than a diffractive lens arrays. So as I told you, fractional against HexaMLA. HexaMLA is a brand name used by Picoway, and the fractional lasers has hot regeneration. There is a thermal aberration. You require multiple sessions. There is no lot of downtime, and there is a destruction of stratum corneum. As against this, it's a cold regeneration. It's a worked by plasma induced cavitation. And if you see, the treatment is fractional, is sparing the normal skin, and the stratum corneum is always preserved. You can have epidermal regeneration and dermal cavitations, which can be controlled with fluence. The depth can be controlled with fluence. We know 1064 can go really deep. So it is a wonderful tool to treat scars. And this is the endpoint of MLA treatment. Now, if you want to treat a scar, you have to achieve a little bit of purpura. If you want to treat a large spore, you have a moderate petechiae. And if you want to treat it as a toning, which is not possible to do with a diffractive lens array, you require an MLA toning, micro lens array for a toning or skin regeneration. The endpoint will be mild petechiae, which heals within a day, within about half day. So, so this is a new type of fractional injury. I mean, I like the concept of this fractional injury very much. had subepidermal ablation preventing the outer layers of epidermis, more pronounced response in pigmented skin, less downtime as compared to the fractional laser. There are lots and lots of published studies coming up on acne scars, surgical scars, and wrinkles. So if you see now comparing the cost of PicoWay, it's definitely expensive, but it will show you about two machines. If you compare a cost of good fractional CO2 or a fractional RBM YAG and a cost of non-ablative laser or a Q-switch laser, and if you combine, this machine can achieve both the indications, like it will achieve the in a better way the indications treated by Q-switch laser and the indication treated by fractional lasers. It can treat variety of conditions like pigmentations, tattoos, toning for rejuvenation and melasma, wrinkles, scars. Even it is approved for onychomycosis. So the possibilities are unlimited, and one should definitely consider PicoWay in their practice. Thank you. PicoCare in their practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Swapnil. Now, could we have the first poll, please? Listening to him. Dr. Goel.
All right, let me get my stuff ready for you. Thank you very much, and welcome to everybody. And mine won't be a long talk, but I just want to share with you certain things. Let me just back out for a minute. With WandTech for a long time, and this device has really been a very useful addition to our clinic and what we do on a regular basis. So you can all see my screen, right? Delete, you good? Everybody good with this? Can you see my?
No, we cannot. You need to share the screen.
So I'm going to talk about Pico, and I'm going to let you know, as I said, that I've worked with WandTech for a long time on their devices, and the concept that you heard, that was one of the best physics lectures that I've heard in a while on all of this. And I think that we are looking, when we talk about Pico and PicoCare, we sort of look at the concept of where does this play a role, and how do we make it fit into our practice? Because as was mentioned, we are all very well versed in the nanosecond technology. And there's no question that Q-switch nanosecond technology works. What makes Pico different is the technology is much more advanced, as you heard, being able to create these laser optical injuries into the skin. And because of that, the device, the treatments themselves for our patients appear to work much faster. So in my practice, if we were treating somebody and told them it's going to take 10 Q-switch, the reality is it should take 4 or 5 at most with Pico. And that's really good. So I think that, and again, the history of Pico, these were developed to treat various color tattoos. And in India, you may not have the same kind of problem that we have in the United States with the number of tattoos, but we have a huge amount of tattoos that we treat. There's something called tattoo regret, which is a very big part of my practice, where patients pre-COVID would go out partying on Friday and Saturday night, and then show up in my office Monday morning going, what did I do? I got a tattoo over the weekend. I don't remember getting my tattoo, and I need to have this off. Also, because of some social things that go on with people, a tattoo that's visible sometimes stops them from getting employment. stops them from getting promotions, stops them from being in the right social situations. However, having said that, there are people that love tattoos, and if they want their tattoos, that's fine. But we're in the business of removing tattoos. The other comment that was made about if you want to just in your mind think, when you think Pico, think of that one slide that was shown that's, you have a rock, nanoseconds produce pebbles, picosecond lasers produce sand. And as was noted, sand is much easier for macrophages to remove than pebbles. So that's why it works so much better and in anything that we're treating. So the concept of tattoos was the #1 reason that picosecond lasers were developed. The advantage with the PicoCare is they have handpieces that are designed that we can treat every tattoo in a very successful way. So you have special handpieces for the very difficult colors, and that's really nice. So it almost is like a targeted approach to the blues and greens, which we have never had before, and that's really important. However, having said all that, because, and again, it was mentioned, the cost of these devices is not cheap. PicoCare is much better positioned in the market than some of the other ones, but they do come with a cost, and you can work with your local people on what that cost is. But we also then said, okay, what other things based on the science that we heard, and you've already heard about, where else can we use these devices that make sense? And so pigment became the second indication for these devices. And we were able to successfully show with all the different Picos and PicoCare as well, that using the device, pigment goes away really quick. Again, nanosecond lasers makes pigment go away, but not as fast as the Pico lasers. And so the most difficult pigment goes away rapidly in most every case that we have. So this is sort of a slide that shows the different things that we can use this with, which is really nice because again, in your countries, you may have more of one thing than the other. So you see a lot more of the nevus of Odo and Ito than I might see in my practice. But I see, as a dermatologist, as you mentioned before, acne scars is what I see a lot. And, we have lots of great treatments for acne scars or even traumatic scars. And yes, you can do your ablative and non-ablative fractional lasers. You can do microneedling. I think it's important in the post-COVID world. I am open for